Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, a woman whose name has echoed through the centuries, captivating imaginations and inspiring countless stories. But who was she really? Let's dive into the fascinating tale of this legendary queen. Born in 69 BCE, Cleopatra was the daughter of Ptolemy XII, a Greek ruler of Egypt. From a young age, she was groomed for power, educated in philosophy, mathematics, and languages. Unlike many of her predecessors, she learned to speak Egyptian, endearing herself to her subjects. At just 18, Cleopatra became co-ruler of Egypt alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. But their reign was far from peaceful. Civil war erupted, and Cleopatra was forced to flee to Syria. It was then that fate intervened in the form of Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, Caesar arrived in Alexandria, pursuing his rival Pompey. Cleopatra, ever the strategist, saw an opportunity. Legend has it that she had herself smuggled into Caesar's quarters wrapped in a carpet. When she emerged, Caesar was captivated. Their alliance would change the course of history. With Caesar's support, Cleopatra regained her throne. But her ambitions didn't stop there. She traveled to Rome with Caesar, causing quite a stir. The Romans were both fascinated and scandalized by this exotic queen. Their relationship produced a son, Caesarion, whom Cleopatra claimed was Caesar's heir. But Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE threw everything into chaos. Cleopatra returned to Egypt, where she ruled alongside her infant son. Meanwhile, Rome was plunged into another civil war, with Mark Antony and Octavian vying for power. In 41 BCE, Mark Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsus. Never one to miss a dramatic entrance, Cleopatra arrived on a golden barge, dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. Antony, like Caesar before him, was smitten. Their passionate affair would become the stuff of legend. Cleopatra and Antony's relationship wasn't just romantic, it was political. They formed a powerful alliance, with Antony granting Cleopatra control over large swaths of the eastern Mediterranean. They had 3 children together and lived a life of luxury in Alexandria. But their happiness was short-lived. Back in Rome, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and heir, saw Cleopatra as a threat. He launched a propaganda campaign, portraying Antony as a man bewitched by a foreign temptress, betraying Rome for the Egyptian queen. The conflict came to a head in 31 BCE at the Battle of Actium. Antony and Cleopatra's forces were defeated, and they fled back to Egypt. Octavian pursued them, determined to crush his rivals once and for all. As Octavian's army approached Alexandria, Antony, believing Cleopatra to be dead, fell on his own sword. But Cleopatra was very much alive, barricaded in her mausoleum. When she learned of Antony's fate, she was devastated. Cleopatra knew her options were limited. Octavian wanted to parade her through Rome as a captive, a fate she found unacceptable. According to legend, she chose to end her life on her own terms. On August 12th, 30 BCE, Cleopatra died, supposedly from the bite of an asp, a venomous snake. With Cleopatra's death, the Ptolemaic dynasty that had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years came to an end. Egypt became a province of Rome, and Octavian, soon to be known as Augustus, became the first Roman emperor. But Cleopatra's story didn't end with her death. Her legend grew, fueled by Roman propaganda and later by Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra. She became an icon of feminine power and seduction, her image reinvented countless times throughout history. Today, archaeologists and historians continue to uncover new details about Cleopatra's life and reign. Recent discoveries suggest she was more than just a seductress. She was a skilled diplomat, a patron of the arts and sciences, and a fierce defender of her kingdom. Cleopatra's true appearance remains a mystery. Despite her famous beauty, No contemporary portraits of her survive. The images we associate with her today are largely products of imagination and artistic license. What we do know is that Cleopatra was a woman of extraordinary intelligence and ambition. She spoke multiple languages, wrote books on a variety of subjects, and was well-versed in philosophy and science. Her political acumen allowed her to navigate the treacherous waters of both Egyptian and Roman politics for years. Cleopatra's legacy extends far beyond her romantic entanglements. She was the last of the Ptolemaic rulers, yes, but she was also one of the most effective. Under her reign, Egypt prospered. She restored temples, encouraged agriculture, and maintained Egypt's independence in the face of Roman expansion for as long as she could. Her relationships with Caesar and Antony weren't just about love or lust, they were calculated political moves. Cleopatra understood that Egypt's future depended on its relationship with Rome, and she used every tool at her disposal to secure her country's position. In many ways, Cleopatra was ahead of her time. She ruled in her own right, minted coins with her image, and wasn't afraid to challenge the patriarchal norms of her era. Her story is a testament to the power of intelligence, charisma, and sheer determination. As we look back on Cleopatra's life, it's important to separate fact from fiction. She wasn't Egyptian by blood, but Greek. She wasn't stunningly beautiful by the standards of her time, but her wit and charm were legendary. She wasn't just a seductress, but a shrewd politician and a devoted mother. Cleopatra's death marked the end of an era. With her went the last vestiges of the Hellenistic world as the Roman Empire rose to dominance. But her influence lived on, shaping our understanding of power, politics, and the role of women in history. Today, more than 2,000 years after her death, Cleopatra continues to fascinate us. Her story has been told and retold in books, films, and plays. She remains a symbol of female empowerment, a queen who dared to challenge the most powerful men of her time. As we uncover more about the real Cleopatra, we find a woman far more complex and compelling than the myths suggest. She was a ruler who fought fiercely for her country, a scholar who valued knowledge, and a woman who refused to be defined by the men in her life. Cleopatra's story is a reminder that history is often more nuanced than we imagine. It's a tale of ambition, love, and tragedy, set against the backdrop of a changing world. As the final pharaoh, Cleopatra brought an end to thousands of years of Egyptian independence. But in doing so, she ensured her place in history, becoming an enduring icon of power and mystery.